Current Issues in Class looks at the government shutdown. Representing the liberal viewpoint is Christian Dorsey, the Executive Director of External and Government Affairs for the Economic Policy Institute. Mr. Dorsey's main task at EPI is to build grassroots awareness of economic policy matters with the goal of educating and mobilizing communities to more effectively advocate on their own behalf. And representing the conservatives is Matt Robbins, the National Executive Director for American Majority. Mr. Robbins' main task is to train thousands of conservative activists and candidates each year in communities across the country to be catalysts for authentic conservative change in government.
So what exactly is a government shutdown?
Government shutdown is when the House and Senate and the executive branch all fail to come to an agreement on a spending plan for a period of time. So when spending bills originate in the House of Representatives, if that process at any point breaks down, the House doesn't do its job, the Senate doesn't do its job, the President vetoes what the House and Senate have done collectively, if there's a gap, there is a government shutdown that can occur because government can't operate without funding authority to operate.
A government shutdown is when one side of the aisle, one party or the other, decides that nothing else can function until one specific policy issue has been resolved, preferably to their liking. So in this case, the government shutdown, which we haven't seen since the mid-90s, occurred over Obamacare and its funding. The Republicans in the Senate and the House decided to stop all essential functions of the federal government in exchange for what they hoped would be concessions on the implementation and funding of the Affordable Care Act.
Is it ever appropriate to shut down the government?
I could certainly see that it's appropriate if there are truly concerns about what government spends its money on in the upcoming year. If both parties can't really agree to that, I think they need to take a principled stand as to whether or not they're going to allow government spending to continue. What I don't think is appropriate is when you've had agreement on what the government should do in the upcoming year, generally, you shouldn't shut down the government to make other political points just because you have the leverage to do so.
Well, and this is a true divide between left and right. The left is the party of government by and large. They believe government exists to do good things. The right believes less government is better. We don't believe in no government, but we believe in less government. So with the safety net and the essential functions, defense, entitlement programs, Social Security ongoing, we feel there's a tremendous amount of fat and waste and abuse and fraud to be cut from the federal budget at any given time. And that's held up by polls and by evidence of how many workers are able to stay home and be considered non-essential. So in a time like this, when there is really a tremendous groundswell of public opinion against something like Obamacare, that's a philosophical battle I'm willing to have. That's a time I'm willing to pull that lever and perform that drastic measure. It's not a stunt to be taken lightly. It's not a cheap trick. It's not something you do for a few media cycles of gain. It's something you need to think about long and hard.